Today we're going to be talking about Metroid. With all the hype surrounding the upcoming addition to the franchise, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I wanted to take a moment to reflect and discuss the history of Metroid. If you know me, then you know that I've been the biggest Metroid fan for most of my life. I still remember the day my brother received Metroid Prime 2 Echoes for Christmas in 2004. I was immediately drawn to the artwork of the game case, with its reflective surface and somewhat eerie designs. I remember watching him play for hours in our dark basement, but I was too afraid to pick up the controller myself. Fast forward a few years, and the release of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption on August 27, 2007, was what ultimately gave me the courage to play the Metroid Prime games on my own. I fell in love with them immediately. The environments, the soundtrack, the feeling of isolation, I couldn't get enough of it. It's not an exaggeration when I say that I and so many other dedicated fans have been patiently waiting for Metroid Prime 4 for far too long. Over 17 years. But with the recent trailers, I have never been more excited for a game release. During all those long years of waiting for Metroid Prime 4, I decided to explore the world of 2D Metroid games as well. And while I personally prefer the 3D Metroid Prime games, probably from my own personal nostalgia, the 2D Metroid games allowed me to further delve into this world and franchise I love so much. Metroid perfectly blends atmospheric exploration, a captivating protagonist, and a unique sci-fi narrative. It's carved out a distinctive identity in the world of video games. If I can convince at least one person to give Metroid a chance and fall in love with the series, then I'll consider this video a success. And so, let us begin. It all began in the mid-1980s. The original Metroid was developed by Nintendo's R&D1 team, released in 1986 for the Famicom Disk System in Japan, and later that year for the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America. Metroid stood out in an era dominated by platformers like Super Mario Bros. And action titles like The Legend of Zelda. What set Metroid apart was its innovative combination of exploration, puzzle solving, and non-linear gameplay. Players took control of Samus Aran, a bounty hunter, tasked with defeating the space pirates and the bioengineered parasites known as Metroids on the planet Zebes. But what truly made Metroid a landmark title was its ending. Players who completed the game quickly were treated to a shocking revelation. Samus Aran, the mysterious hero, was a woman.
What?
This was groundbreaking in a time when female protagonists were rare in gaming. After the success of the original Metroid, Nintendo wanted to expand on the story. In 1991, Metroid 2: Return of Samus was released for the Game Boy. This title followed Samus as she traveled to the planet SR-388 on a mission to exterminate the Metroids and prevent them from becoming a galactic threat. Despite its hardware limitations, Metroid 2 was a crucial stepping stone for the franchise, further developing Samus' character and the lore surrounding the Metroids. In 1994, Super Metroid was released for the SNES. If the original Metroid was a foundation, Super Metroid was a masterpiece that redefined and expanded on every aspect of the original. Developed by many of the same team members who worked on the first game, Super Metroid offered a new level of freedom, storytelling, and atmosphere for its time. Set once again on the planet Zebes, Super Metroid followed Samus Aran on a mission to recover a stolen Metroid baby that she had entrusted to the Galactic Federation at the end of Metroid 2. The gameplay focused heavily on exploration, allowing players to traverse a vast, interconnected world. Finding different power-ups along the way, these upgrades allowed access to new areas, adding layers of complexity to the world design. One of the most celebrated aspects of Super Metroid was its atmospheric storytelling. The narrative was conveyed almost entirely through the environment and subtle visual cues. This environmental storytelling combined with a memorable soundtrack created a haunting, immersive experience that made players feel like they were truly alone on an alien planet. Super Metroid was not only critically acclaimed upon its release, but it has since been regarded as one of the greatest video games of all time, influencing countless titles in the decades to follow. After Super Metroid, the franchise entered a period of dormancy, with no major releases for several years. However, the next major leap for Metroid came in 2002 with the release of Metroid Prime for the Nintendo GameCube. Metroid Prime was developed by Retro Studios, an American company, under the guidance of Nintendo. Moving the series into 3D, Prime took the bold step of shifting the perspective to first person, a departure from the traditional 2D side-scrolling roots of the franchise. Fans were initially skeptical about how well the essence of Metroid would translate into this new perspective. But needless to say, the product that Retro Studios was able to produce exceeded everyone's expectations. Upon release, it became clear that Metroid Prime was a resounding success. The game retained the atmospheric exploration, puzzle solving, and non-linear progression that defined the series, but now in a fully 3D environment. The first-person perspective enhanced the sense of immersion, making players feel as though they were truly in Samus's suit.
What do you mean by that?
Exploring alien worlds, scanning creatures, and unlocking the mysteries of each environment. The success of Metroid Prime spawned two direct sequels, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes in 2004, my personal favorite game of all time, and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption in 2007, both of which expanded on the formula while adding new mechanics like light and dark world dynamics in Prime 2 and motion control aiming in Prime 3. These titles cemented the Prime series as a modern classic and helped redefine what a Metroid game could be in a new era of gaming. In 2002, alongside the release of Metroid Prime, Nintendo released another critically acclaimed entry in the series, Metroid Fusion, for the Game Boy Advance. This title served as a direct sequel to Super Metroid, and offered a more story-driven experience than previous games. In Fusion, Samus Aran finds herself infected by the parasitic X organism, leading to a life-threatening situation that forces her to be surgically fused with Metroid DNA. This fusion not only saves her life, but also grants her new abilities, like absorbing X parasites to help heal or gain power. Unlike previous titles, Metroid Fusion is a more linear experience. The game has Samus following orders from a computer AI, also known as Adam, which directs her to specific tasks aboard a biological research station orbiting SR-388. While this structured approach reduced the open-ended exploration that the series was known for, it increased the tension and narrative focus, with memorable moments like the terrifying encounters with the SA-X, a creepy doppelganger of Samus infected with the X-parasite. Metroid Fusion was praised for its tight gameplay, eerie atmosphere, and gripping story. Even if the more guided structure divided fans who preferred the non-linear exploration of earlier titles, still, it remains a beloved entry in the series. In 2004, they released Metroid Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance. Zero Mission wasn't just another entry in the series, it was a full remake of the original Metroid from 1986, reimagined with modern gameplay mechanics and updated visuals. It also added new areas, bosses, and secrets that weren't present in the original. This included a completely new segment after the defeat of the final boss Mother Brain, where Samus loses her power suit and has to rely on stealth and agility to survive without her usual arsenal. While the Metroid Prime games continued to dominate the 3D space, Zero Mission reminded fans why 2D Metroid games remain beloved. The 2010s were a mixed period for the franchise. After the success of Metroid Prime, the series stumbled with Metroid Other M in 2010. Developed by Team Ninja and Nintendo, Other M attempted to blend third-person action with cinematic storytelling. Unfortunately, it received a mixed reception from fans and critics. This was largely due to its portrayal of Samus as a more vulnerable character, which many felt clashed with her established strong, silent persona. The game's linearity also contrasted with the series' hallmark of open-ended exploration. Metroid Fusion was able to do this well, but in Other M, the independence of Samus felt like it had been ripped from the game entirely. For example, instead of Samus finding new upgrades, she had to be given authorization from the Galactic Federation to use most of the weapons and upgrades she had already technically had in her arsenal. After the backlash that Metroid Other M received, Nintendo stepped away from Metroid for a few years to focus on other projects. And then, when all hope seemed lost, we were given the holy grail of Metroid games, the game that every fan had been waiting for so many years. Metroid Prime Federation Force. In 2016, Metroid Prime Federation Force was released on the Nintendo 3DS. However, this title was met with significant controversy from the fanbase. Instead of focusing on Samus Aran, Federation Force shifted the spotlight to the Galactic Federation, offering a multiplayer co-op experience where players took on the role of Federation soldiers. Many fans, including myself, were disappointed, as they had been hoping for a new mainline Metroid game. Despite the mixed reception, Federation Force did offer a new perspective on the Metroid universe, though it remains a controversial entry in the franchise. In 2017, however, fans' patience was finally rewarded with Metroid Samus Returns for the Nintendo 3DS. This was a remake of Metroid 2: Return of Samus. Developed by Mercury Steam and Nintendo, Samus Returns updated the classic with modern controls, enhanced visuals, and new gameplay mechanics like the melee counter. The game was widely praised for bringing Metroid back to its 2D roots while modernizing the experience for a new generation. After the success of Metroid Samus Returns, the moment Metroid fans had been waiting for finally arrived. the release of a new mainline Metroid game, Metroid Dread, for the Nintendo Switch. Dread was the first all-new 2D Metroid game in nearly 2 decades, serving as a direct sequel to Metroid Fusion from 2002, continuing Samus' story and bringing closure to the arc that had begun with the original game in 1986. Developed again by Mercury Steam, Metroid Dread blended the classic 2D exploration with modern touches, such as intense boss battles, dynamic animations, and the addition of the Emmy, near-invincible robots that hunted Samus across certain areas of the map. The tension and atmosphere in Dread were palpable, reminding players of the eerie loneliness that had made the series famous in the first place. Upon its release, Metroid Dread was both a critical and commercial success, proving that there was still a place for the classic Metroid formula in modern gaming. Over the course of many years, Metroid has evolved, adapted, and struggled at times, but it has never lost its core identity, except for maybe with Metroid Prime Federation Force. With the recent successful release of Metroid Prime Remastered in 2023, and as we look forward to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, one thing is certain: the Metroid franchise will continue to captivate players, just as it did back in 1986. My hope is that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will be a massive success and ultimately introduce the 3D Metroid style to a new generation of gamers and fans that will cherish the series as I have. And with that, hopefully Nintendo will be encouraged to make Metroid Prime 5 in less than another 17 years. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know in the comments what Metroid game is your favorite, or if you're new to the series, which game you're looking forward to playing the most. We'll see you next time.